Okay, thank you very much for your attendance and your interest in this fantastic training. I hope for everybody. We will start as you can see in the training guidelines with the KNX integration. So we will have a short presentation, a brief presentation about the possibilities that the BMS platform is giving us for this integration. When the KNX installations becomes big or massive, it's very important. So we need to understand why is important or fundamental to have this solution to help us for all this integration. But you will see during the whole training that this is only one a small, very important, but a small part of the solution itself. It's a really huge and really fantastic solution to integrate a lot of different protocols and a lot of different systems for a complex or any kind of project. It doesn't mind the size of the complexity of the project. We can solve it with the BMS platform. So it's very important to understand this, and we will see step by step and giving you a lot of examples how we can do this. So we'll start with KNX integration. It's very important for us and maybe for you also to have a good solution, a perfect solution to integrate any kind of KNX project. When you have a big installation or medium-sized installation, you will need it, and we have to demonstrate why this is real. So the first thing to see is in a brief presentation, because we have another videos explaining this in more detail, but I think we will need a lot of time to do it in the practice, because the training want to be more practical than theoretical, of course. And it's very important to understand the different scenarios that we have seen during the time for KNX. So we'll start with a classic scenario and to check what is the problem with this kind of solutions. Normally when we have a lot of KNX devices, we need to divide the system in lines, even in areas. This is the classic topology, but we will have a lot of problems with this, because you will see, and I will try to explain this, you will see that we normally have one central visualization. This is not BMS, this is a classical visualization connected to the system. And this connection is the real limitation we have with KNX. The connection is already done with a driver known as the Falcon driver. And this is a unique point for the connection to the system, for this external system, external software, or external devices. And this is a lack of reliability, because we will need to upload all the traffic on this backbone line. And this is a problem, because we will have a lot of issues, a bandwidth issue, because the traffic will be huge in this backbone line. It's a big problem, but a really big and invisible problem many times is the coupler bottleneck, because we have some buffering in the couplers, and this is very problematic with this buffering. And this scenario make it possible in a big installation to use a classical backbone. So the solution in this case is to go to the second scenario using IP routing interfaces or IP couplers, but we still have a problem with the couplers bottleneck. And this is very important, because it's invisible for many integrators, and it's a surprise, a negative surprise, when something like this happens, when you have a big project and you are considering just using the routing multicast connection that is possible to connect any device or any software to the system using that connection, but you suffer the problem with the lack of buffers in the coupler. So this is really big trouble in big installations. And when we say big, it's higher than 5 or 6 lines. It's not huge, massive. Imagine if you have hundreds of lines in a project. It's very important to know the real solution for this. And this solution is to have this kind of solution, this software, a BMS platform that is connecting and helping us to connect every single line with an independent connection, tunneling connection. Very, very reliable and very, very professional, because we will have a server connected to the whole installation, to every data point of the installation. And I will demonstrate how easy it is to do this. We call this the mapping of the variables of the data points. Data points for KNX are the group addresses. Moreover, the most important thing we do in KNX is controlling things, lighting, shutters, and alarms, or whatever, and or HVAC systems, of course. And these group addresses or these data points are mapped to the BMS considering the tunneling IP address of every single line. So it's very, very interesting, because we can divide the traffic and not upload any traffic to the backbone. So avoiding any kind of bandwidth issue, any kind of coupler bottleneck, no need to edit the filter tables. That is a lot of work that you have to do if you don't have this solution. And you have the most professional and reliable solution for massive KNX installation. And this is massive. It becomes from 4 or 5 lines and big installations like that. So it's very, very important to understand this, and imagine that the BMS platform can connect up to 1,000 lines and even more, giving you the possibility to solve any kind of KNX project. So it's very, very important. About this concept of mapping, we see that you will see that we will have a tool that is called the BMS Studio, where you will see the item tree. So every single line in KNX installation will be a branch of this KNX branch itself, and you will see all these items mapped into every branch, independent branch. And this is very interesting, because as we are using a tunneling connection, the ID for the group addresses is very important. It's very simple, because it's the IP is inside the NETx tree. The XIO branch is for the native drivers, not only KNX, also BACnet, Modbus, etc. And then in KNX we will have the name of the router. Maybe in our examples it will be IP01 or room 0101 or whatever. We will give hotel room names for this example, for this training. As an example, it could be whatever name. This is the name of the IP gateway, okay, and the group address 1/1/1, for example. And this is very interesting, because we will see that it's possible to clone the projects and to have exactly the same configuration in every single line, and no problem, because the BMS will distinguish every item, because the name or the IP behind the name of the IP gateway is different. So the IP plus the group address is our item for our installation, and it's very important, because we can have exactly the same configuration in every single line and distinguish them, because they will be part of different branches in the item tree, because the name of the IP gateway is different, because the IP tunneling address is different. So it's very, very interesting for different scenarios we can also consider in this kind of projects. Also, as you can see, we can also monitor the physical address. Every single thing is monitored. This is another big advantage of the BMS platform. One is the integration, and the easy integration of a massive KNX project. This is the part we are explaining now, but we will see that it's very, very easy or simple to integrate also BACnet and Modbus or SNMP or HTTP or many other protocols in the platform. So integration is a big important functionality, but also the surveillance of all the systems and devices and gateways that are involved in our project. This is very important, because the maintenance part and your end customer is also claiming for these kind of things. I want to know every single thing that is happening in my project, and you will give them this whole vision of the project with the BMS. The BMS is giving you a massive added value for your installation, and you will discover all these things during the different sessions. I hope so. Be able to explain it properly. So physical addresses, the the individual addresses, you can also know with this name, individual addresses can also be monitored. Okay, so it's very important that we will see the gateway status. See here, the gateway status. We can see also the physical address status, and of course the data point, the group address status and values. And we can use this for visualization, for logics, or for whatever reason we will need to manage in the installations, with alarms, with trends, with calendars, schedules, events, whatever. So we will see during the training all these kind of functionalities to show you all the power of the BMS, and it's very important that you will realize that we need this for our projects. So it's very important. And the last scenario I will show you is the one that we have exactly in our practical boards. We need tunneling connection, and there is a distinction between an IP interface and an IP router in KNX. An IP router is giving us both connections, not only the tunneling connection that is in principle use it only for configuring, for example, connecting to a specific part of the installation through a tunneling using a specific IP of the gateway, to configuration, for example, for the ETS commissioning or whatever. And the other connection is the routing multicast that is used for the communication to send the different telegrams between the lines, is the coupler functionality. So if you have an IP interface, you can use the BMS in these cases. And this is typical for applications like, imagine that you need to integrate to 200 stores or 500 offices or supermarkets or bank offices or whatever. We can do it with KNX, and we can use a simple IP interfaces that is cheaper, much cheaper than an IP router, and even cheaper than a coupler. So in buildings, it's possible to use a BMS using IP interfaces. The communication between the lines is not natural because it's not a routing connection, but it's possible with the BMS also if it's only a few messages between the lines or nothing. It's really interesting because you will save a lot of money with this solution. And to connect the BMS to the whole number of lines, we can use the broadcast driver. And only in this occasion, we can use the broadcast driver for this. So it's indicated in this specific case. But this is the case for our practical boards. I will show you what is the layout of our practical boards. We have here, and you will see in the camera, but this is a picture I took yesterday. And you see the IP and the IP addresses it is also connected to my home installation. So we'll also use advantages of some devices that I have already at home for metering or whatever in different protocols. And this is the layout of our 8 practical boards. But we are going to simulate, in this case, a hotel. So you see which is the number of the room, for example. It's a small part of this installation is a room with lights and shutters and temperature or luminosity or whatever. So we can use these practical boards as the installation in each room. And we have also another device that you can see in the front, in the bottom of the picture, that I will show you in detail. This is just a backnet IP controller. Okay. It's also a Modbus TCP and SNMP, but this is explaining in different trainings, but it's not interesting in this case because we have a different devices for this, other technologies. But for backnet, for example, we can integrate a lot of binary inputs, many binary outputs, and some analog inputs. So it's very interesting for us also to integrate backnet and show you how to do this backnet integration. For example, we will use the binary outputs. Well, this first card is 4 binary outputs. We will show as a brief example, but we will use this 8 channel binary outputs, for example, 2 of each for every room, to indicate do not disturb or make up room, for example. And these items, do not disturb, make up room for the first, the second, the third, and the fourth room in the first floor, and this for the second floors, 1, 2, 3, and 4 rooms. And we will integrate KNX and BACnet in a very easy way, as I will show you in the third session, I think. So it's very, very interesting to see how we can integrate different protocols. About the inputs, we will just use the inputs as a testing to link, for example, some inputs. This is a fourth channel binary input card. To integrate, for example, one of these inputs with BACnet or with KNX or whatever. So it's very easy to do this integration and interesting device to do so. Finally, I will like to show our faces, who we are in the sales department. As you have seen my friend Stefan Baumgartner, so is the global responsible. Myself as responsible for Spain, Portugal, and South America. My colleague Subankar from responsible from the Asia Pacific region. It's very nice guy that you can contact if you are from this region. My also friend Bernard, who is responsible for the European market and is in the office with Stefan. So we are open to solve any kind of question that you may have. In my case, technical and also for my region in the case of any question related to sales. So this is the finish of this presentation. Of course, we will give you this presentation in PDF. So we will have all the things we are doing in the training. You will also have it, so it's interesting to know. But we have to start with the training. So specific with the practical part. So let me finish this. Okay. And let me show you how to do the KNX integration. So first, we will need a project. Let me do in two different ways. The first thing to do, well, this is the ETS 5, but I can tell you that we can use ETS 6 also. Maybe you are starting with ETS 6, but many of you are still using ETS 5. So it's very important to do both in both things, in both softwares. ETS is the tool for configuring and commissioning 100% of the KNX devices. If you cannot integrate a device in ETS, it's not possible to get the KNX stamp, the KNX logo. So it's the tool for using. Sorry. And we just need to use a BMS App Secure from NETx Automation. That is a free app that you can buy for $0 in the My KNX account, in your personal My KNX account, that you may have if you are KNX partner or KNX user. So this I will show you two different examples for you to understand the process of the import process of the KNX installations. But first, I will show you which is the destination tool for this information. This is the BMS Core Studio. It's part of the BMS platform, very important, because the first thing we need is data point to handle, to manage, to visualize. So we need to integrate all these data points in the BMS server, and we do this using this tool. Not only for KNX, also for BACnet, for Modbus, for SNMP, and for many other protocols that are native in NETx. In the case of KNX, I will show you how to create a new project. We just create a workspace, and we can say this is a new workspace, and I will call it with the date of today, 2021, December 13. I will say this is NETx Online. Okay, NETx Online training. For example, this is not in red, because if you use a space, for example, it's in red background. It's not possible to use spaces. It has to be a name not used before, and you cannot also you need to use the right characters to write it. Okay, so I will create this. I will shut down the previous test I'd done before. And then I will show you that this project will be empty. Okay, this is the training is now open. This is a BMS. Okay, and if you see here, there is a lot of windows, gateways. For example, I will point it out with this. This is a gateways window that you will see just if you have the gateways online or not. If you have any trouble, you take a short look here and you will see it. The item tree, and this is central window with different tables. This is the most important for us because we will use this a lot. The item tree with all our data points, not only for KNX, you will see that is big and huge, a lot of possibilities that it is giving us. Well, just a Telegram monitor, so you can see the traffic, the sending, receiving traffic from the different drivers. The properties of any item we select here in the item tree, you will see here. And the system message is very interesting also to have the information, the log of the system here is in the bottom of the screen. You can manage all these windows, close, open, no problem, and also go to Windows menu and restore the panel position. So it's very easy to configure. But the most important for us is the central panel, of course, and this is very important for us to handle this properly and to integrate the different protocols. We have the most important in menus, in the main menu toolbar. For example, for KNX, and the first option is to import directly from our app file. So I will show you how to export from ETS in order to get this information in our BMS. So it's very simple. I will do two different examples for you to understand. Imagine that we have these 8 panels and these practical boards. I will show you again so you remember. Imagine if you have this. Okay. This as IP routers. This is the device here. The device is the IP interfaces is these devices that you can see here, and for every practical boards. Imagine it's not an IP router, but imagine that you will have IP routers, so you have the communication between the lines with no problem because you have filter tables here controlling this. The BMS will use the tunneling connection, so you will have 8 different tunneling connections. But if you have one big project with 8 lines in a topology, you can create your ETS project and you just export and import. It's just a single 30 seconds process. It's very easy. This is the first example. It's considering, supposing that we have IP routers and you have only one ETS project to integrate. The whole building is one project. First example. The second example is the real one. I will show you at the end, and this is the one that we will continue using the rest of the sessions. Is the reality, considering this is not an IP router, this is just an IP interface. So we will see that creating a single ETS project, we can reuse this exactly the same ETS project and export for this practical board one file, for this another file. So we will have 8 different single files for every project with different IP interfaces. So this is the second example. So this demonstrates that you can use different ETS projects in the same BMS platform also. And it's very interesting because it simplifies you a lot your BMS, your project. It's very simple to create. For example, imagine that this is a different offices in different locations, and you solve this with a VPN, for example. The connection between the stores or the bank offices or the supermarkets is done using a VPN between all them, and the BMS is connected to all these installations in real time. So this is very, very interesting, this second example, because it shows you the possibility to do complex projects in huge areas with a single VPN configuration. So it's not complicated, or VLAN configuration, or intranet, or whatever you want to call it. So it's very important to understand that you can have one big project or many single small projects, and you can use both strategies in your projects and get a different kind of business, open a different kind of business for you. So let's start with the first one. Okay. But first, let me show you that there's nothing in the tables. So we have object definition table. I will show you what this is useless for me, but I will show you it's nothing. Nothing is something is in yellow color is a comment. It's nothing. No definitions here. We can delete it. It's nothing. And the gateways, there is no gateway in this white in blank project. The Telegram definitions means the group addresses is empty. So I'm showing you that this is empty. So you will see that is nothing here. Device definitions. In the group alias definitions, there is something, some example that is not is a test. So we can also delete it now. Nothing. So we can save everything. Okay. Nothing in KNX. But you will see that from nothing, we get everything from the project very easy way. How? Using ETS, for example, ETS 5, we have a project I will show you. Imagine that it's a project, this is the first example. This is not the real situation with our practical boards, but it's just an example to show you how easy it is to do this integration. I have 8 rooms in 2 different floors, as you can see here. This is floor 3 and 4 is dummy, is nothing here. Okay, but every room is one different line. You can see here topology is line 1.1, so it's the first line. The second line here, the third line. So this is a project with the topology. It's a topology. Imagine that you have IP routers in every line. This IP devices has a configuration. They are configured here, so we can see that they have an IP, a different IP. If I see the configuration of these devices, for example, this has a different IP, and they have a name. It's very important, the name, because this is part of our future items in our item 3, and the name of the gateway, and you will need to change it if you're going to do a export with different number of IP gateways. But if not, it's not important, but you will need. And in principle, group addresses with whatever strategy, lights and shutters for every room. So it's not important, but the question is that you have a single project for this. So, okay, what we need to get all these items mapped, combine IP plus group addresses or plus individual addresses in the BMS, what we need is just an app. This is a free app that it's easy to install and buy, like many other apps. And this is the NETx BMS App Secure. Okay, important, secure. This is the last version, and you can use it for the current BMS platform. For the multi-protocol server that I will mention, this is a light version of the platform without visualization, without management, but also important for some cases in order to serve information for BACnet or to OPC or whatever. But in this case, we will consider always the BMS platform, okay? And also the previous version of the BMS server, the old version of the BMS server, it's also compatible. But for us, it's BMS platform. And as you can see, the basic things, the minimum things is what I call the mapping. The KNX Net IP routers or interfaces with the group addresses. This is the basic things. If we want also to include the device monitoring, it's possible. Okay, device monitoring means the physical addresses, the individual addresses. The lamps is for the DALI gateways. If we have a lot of DALI gateways and we need to monitor, I will explain this in the 3rd session, I think. Yes. No, in the 5th, tomorrow, in the 5th session about the DALI integration. So it's not time to export this, but for tomorrow it's important. And also I will select this because this is the objects. The objects, a lot of things we can see in the topology, in the buildings view, in the trades view, in all devices view. So it's possible to get everything from the ETS project and serve it to the BMS platform. So it's fantastic because you will have the possibility to control a light, not going to the group address that is controlling the light, but going to the channel specific for the device specific that is configured with this light. So it's also possible. But in my opinion, this is useless for from my point of view, because you have everything in group addresses and items that you know much better than the device itself. So it's an extra thing that is not necessary, but it's possible to export. So I will show you with this first example, this export. So let's press this button, export, and everything is done by the app. The export wizard is doing everything, even the combination with the IP interfaces or routers with the data points, with the group addresses or physical addresses. Why? Because we have in this project include the IP. For every single line, there is one IP. So there is no question about if there is one IP configured with different IP address, the wizard is doing the work. If you don't have an IP, you will be asked for the IP. And if you have several, you will be asked to choose one. So it's very, very intelligent in this way. So we get this. I will send this to for example, to the desktop. Well, no, this is okay. It's for here, all rooms. Okay. Downloads folder. And as you can see, I did nothing. I just select what do you want, what ingredients you want. And then we come back to the BMS platform, and then we go to KNX and select import. It's very, very simple. It's really, really simple. And then it's just a second process. Takes some seconds. It's here in downloads today. Yes. Okay, this is the file. And you need to select, you want to replace everything or update. In this case, it doesn't mind because it's empty. So it doesn't mind to replace an empty tables or update with this information. It doesn't mind. In the next example, it's very interesting to understand. In the next example, we will use 8 different files. So we will need to update time by time to include more information. So if you need to include in the future more information, please select the update definition option, not to replace, because you will, if you replace, you will delete everything. And then we are asked to import KNX data. And because I have the module, the LAMPS module in my BMS version, I have also this option. Maybe this option is not present in your BMS if you have installed it recently. This is because you haven't the LAMPS module installed in your project. You don't have maybe the license for the LAMPS, or maybe in your developer license you haven't installed it yet. But this is not by default appearing in every BMS platform, because you have to activate this. I will show you also in the future how to do this. For the 5th session, it's important to have it. So I will explain. And then after selecting the file and selecting import KNX data, we just press start, and it takes seconds. It's only a question of seconds. You will see that it's finishing the work now. And this is finished. Okay, so we can close this, and we have a remind message. You need to restart the core server to apply change, because we are creating the item tree doing this. So if I press start, maybe I need to restart again the BMS platform to create the item tree. I will check, but I think it's necessary to restart, to force a restart of the BMS platform in order to get this. In this process, maybe we get, no, it's working fine. This the first step. So you can see here, for example, in my gateways window, that I have green color and I am online. It's very important, this. I am online. I'm not in simulation, because it's possible to simulate the connection to the systems without real connection to the real world. But now I am online. This is the difference to press start and to press simulation. If you press simulation or you are just answering yes to the question that you are prompted when you start the first time the BMS, you are prompted, do you want to start in simulation mode? And you always say yes, because you are not reading the message. And then you are in simulation mode. In this case, it's not that case. I am online. So I am online with the whole installation, okay? This is real. And I can show you it's real because the first practical board is real using these addresses. So I can show you if I turn on the camera and for a second. The first is the bottom left practical board. So I have choose here, for example, the main functions for the lights, and I send a telegram, send value 1 to this, and I force a value for this. So I am online. I've pressed a 0 and I say, okay, all this off. So we have the control for all this. It's only working in this room because the rest is not using the real configuration they have is exactly the same as for the first gateway. So this is the second and the final example, but I wanted to show you this performance. This is working fine. What do we have now? We have, after importing, we have a lot of things. For example, let me show you the gateways first. We have 8 gateways because when I export the file, I got all this information from the ETS, from the NETx BMS App Secure. Also, I have my Telegram, my group addresses. This is the most important table, okay? It's very important. We have the mapping here, my group address with the room 1 or wherever group address with every room. So you can see here a lot of 570 something group addresses in this example, with its priority, with the data size, with the data type is very important for also visualization to distinguish. For example, this is not correct because it's a percentage, So we will have to change this to scaling, and this can be done very fast using the Excel. So I will show you with the last example, and also and very important, which of these elements has to be reconnect. It's very important also. So this is the Telegram definition, but we also have the device, the physical address definitions, and you can see this is in yellow color. Is not active definition. It's a comment. It's as I used to say, these definitions are sleeping, and we can wake them up. Imagine that I want to activate this and convert to definition. So it's just we can wake it up and convert to definition. So you have this physical address polled by the BMS every 10 minutes. Is asking if this device is alive or not, but we need to do this because from the beginning they are commented. And this is one thing that it was mentioned here. If you take a look in the ETS, the option device monitoring, it was telling us commented, because these definitions at the end, and this is also important to understand, these definitions at the end makes you to spend data points for your license. So if you are interested in know all these elements, so you have several, 58 or 59 physical addresses, okay? This is 59 data points that you need to invest, that you need to waste for the license. Okay, so the license is using 59 data points to monitor the physical addresses. Of course, you can select only, for example, the push buttons or whatever. Maybe it's not interesting for you to monitor specific devices that you know that nobody can take it, or it will be any issue with that. But if you are interested in monitor the topology of your system, is important. So you have it in the beginning defined, but as a comment. So they are sleeping and you can wake them up if necessary. It's just a comment because I will do it in the real example. This is the last example. The device, okay, the group alias is the name of the main and intermediate group addresses. When you see the item 3, you see that in KNX, inside the XIO, the native drivers, the KNX branch, you have every single gateway with the group addresses, and you have the name of main functions. You know, the blue and the green color is the main and the intermediate group addresses, and the last name is okay, is the name of the group address. It's not complicated. It's the name of the group address, central off lights, whatever. And this is here in Telegram definitions, we only have the name of the red color group address definition, the secondary group level. But for the first and the intermediate, the main and the intermediate group level, we need this table. So we get the name, blue and green color names for these group addresses. This table is important for this only. And normally you don't have to touch. It's automatically created. So we just need to maybe wake up some physical devices, and of course take a deep look on this table with the data types and with the definitions and with the read on reconnect. It's very important, the read on reconnect, when you start the BMS, to ask to send red telegrams to the status, to the temperatures, to the sensors, so you get the information from the beginning. Okay, so it's very important, but I will show this in the next example. Okay, so this is interesting, but it's not the real project that we have. The real project that we have, I will close this, is one very small. We have just one small project. Okay, this is my project with a few devices. Okay, it's just one room. Okay, one push button, one shutter actuator, one dimming actuator, a blind actuator with 2 blinds, one sensor for presence and whatever. I only use this for the luminosity to have the lux. We are not using this for presence in these examples. My IP interface, okay, is not an IP router. It's not nothing, no parameters for this device. Okay, a second dimmer, because we have 2 dimming lights, one in the front and one in the specific spotlight in the top of the practical boards, and a DALI gateway. Okay, in this case is from ABB, a DALI gateway that is not physically present in the installation. We don't have 8 DALI gateways in this small, because these practical boards are for my basic trainings, and in the advanced boards that is no space for them. They are the DALI gateways, but in this case, we have it in the design of my project, but it's not present in the physical boards. So we have this example, and in the group addresses is just lights and shutters of the room, and some small main functions, some scenes, some lights, central functions, and blinds. Okay, so the question now is, okay, I have 8 exactly the same configuration in 8 practical boards. How to integrate this in my BMS? So it's very simple. We just need to export this with the apps, NETx BMS App Secure, and select this BMS platform. And I will select only the basic things, including in this case the lamps, because it will be useful for me in the future. Okay, not interested in the topology and all these things. And I'm sorry because I didn't show you the KNX object definition. This is the objects table. So you can see here that we have thousands, almost 3,000 of objects. And what this means is a different thing than the group addresses. The group addresses is very easy to understand. I have my move, stop, whatever group addresses with 3 level in this case, and this is easy to understand. And it is distinguished by IP gateway, in this case by the name of the IP gateway. So they have different branches, but the objects are in a different way. We have our project here, and then we have, for example, our buildings view with I close the camera because it's not interesting now. With the different devices. So we have a floor one with a room, with another room, with a device that is, I don't know which device is this, but for example, I know that this is the LED driver, okay? So you don't need to know what is the, I will turn on the camera again. What is the group address that is controlling, because you just go to this device and you can just force the value. And if you turn on this, you will have the control of the LED, the spotlight. Okay, it's a different way to control elements. And this is possible because ETS give us all this information in XML format, and the ETS app from NETx Automation is very intelligent and can get all this information and show it to you in this way. But it's 3,000 objects instead of 500 group addresses. So it's more complex and more massive information that has to be handled. So it's not easy to do this. Okay. So in the second example, I will not export this information, this object table. I will decide to do a simple exporting. That is, this is complete export, because we have the group addresses, the physical addresses, and the lamps export. But of course, this is only for the first room. This is the difference. The first room, because I have configured, the configuration is for the first IP gateway, room 0101, if it's a hotel, for example, or an office or whatever. This is the first room of the first floor. 01 is the floor, and the last 01 is the number of the room. And we just need to export this single file. So we can say this is, for example, the file for the room 0101. So I can save this and it's finished. And now what I have to do is to change this for the different rooms and export. Just a note, a margin note, I changed the name of the room itself because of the DALI structure, but it's just, normally you just need to change this. The name of the gateway is very important. That is different. This is the IP02 if you want. And the IP address, of course, it's different. This in the case 22. This is the only thing to do. And now I can export exactly the same configuration except the IP configuration. Exactly the same configuration, repeat, because the ETS project is small and we replicate it several times. So this is for the second, so I can just say here, this is the room 0102, and I just have to do this 8 times from this, and I have it already. So the last should be 0204, so this the fourth room in the second floor, and you just need to do this 8 times. Sorry, and change this 8 times. So the last file to export is this, and this should be the 8th export of this single file, single project, with the name of that. So this is room 0204, and if you have the 8 files, as I have it in a different folder because I did it yesterday, you have everything you need to the BMS. So what we are going to do is just close this, and I will substitute all this information for a different. I will come here and import, replacing and importing both KNX and the LAMPs, the DALI gateway data. Imagine that it's empty project, and as you can see here, I have my 8 files here from room 0101 to 0204 that I did yesterday. I repeat, so I don't have to do it 8 times today, and just do this. If I replace, everything will be clean and replaced with this first room. And I will show you, I will just, it's finished. This takes only a few time. I will restart server. So you will see that instead of the 8 gateways, I only have 1. And you may think we have lost a lot of information, but it's a different example. It's an example where importing and the rest of the boards, the 7 pending boards, is seconds, the time you will need to import this. But you will have a different project with the IP interfaces. So this is the to do. So we are importing in practice different ETS projects, we can say. You can copy that. And now what we have is just one room, and it's fantastic, only one room with my information, no objects, the ETS is empty, okay. There is a broadcast driver that is also empty, but I will do something with this, okay. And then if you want to take a look on the boards, you will see that it's only one gateway, for example, and it's mentioned here where it was generated or whatever. So it's just one part of the installation. It's very simple. We have 7 more files to import. So important, select update definition, because if not, we will have some troubles. And then go ahead importing the second, and it's 5 seconds maybe. Go to the third, and then up to the end. It's just question of 30 seconds maybe. Okay. It's very, very simple. And it's a time you invest in the beginning in the project. You may think, no, it's easy for me to create only one ETS project, because if not, I have a lot of things to do. But it saves you a lot of time at the end. So it's very important to understand that you have the whole possibility. This is the most important message. I have all the options. I can choose which option is better for me every project. So it's very, very interesting. I think I have imported everything. So we'll check again, restarting the server. And then you will see the difference. Well, replace and update. To remind you the difference, replace is to clean everything and only import the last file. And update is to give more information to the one that you have. Okay, this is the difference between replace and update. So in this case, I updated from the second to the last one. I updated because I wanted to add information to the rest. And then take a look, and yes, I think we have everything. Yes, 8 boards here. And the difference is that from the previous project is that I have exactly the same group addresses in every single room, exactly the same configuration, and it's working fine. If I, for example, turn on the lights for the room, the first, you know that with the right button, you can send 1, okay? This is the button left, and I go to the last, for example, 0204, and go to this main function, for example. It's easier to see. turn on all the lights of this room. It is the same group address, as you can see, but the IP is different. And you're turning on this, and you can turn off the first. Even you can change this here, because you can say, okay, let me see the first in the top. Just changing the IP, it should work. Yes, because I have defined this item. I don't have to go to the, I don't need to go to the item in the tree. I can, if I know that this is exactly the group addresses that is turning on all the lights in my board, I just change the IP and I do it. So it's very simple. And this is the project we will finish, we will use at the end. These 8 single projects imported one by one. The first is replacing what we had. So we clean the previous project, and the rest is updating. So we add to the first the rest. So I have everything, and then you can take a look on the tables, the gateway definition. I have my 8 times imported my elements. These comments you can have it. It's not a problem. You can delete it. It's not a problem. It's just information for you. Maybe interesting. You have your device definition. Let's do it now with the device. This device, it's important because I want to show you something to convert to definition, to wake them up. Now they are not sleeping, they are working. And you can order per column, for example. You have here, for example, the push buttons. I am interested that this polling is not 600, is 70 seconds, for example, or even less. Let me put 70 for all, except the first. I will put 10 seconds because I want to show you something with this. If you look here, the 116, that is the IP interface, is not present because you are monitoring the IP interfaces in a different way. We are monitoring as a gateway. The gateway is here, so it's not necessary to again monitor as a device because it's a gateway itself. But this is intelligent decisions from the BMS that is maybe sometimes hidden or invisible for us, but it's very important because if not, maybe something not good can happen if you do this monitoring in parallel or whatever. But the BMS is very intelligent in this way, because behind of the BMS is very intelligent people, my colleagues. Hello to all of you. And this is the physical addresses. Now, if we take a look on the license, I just informing you about one thing that we will see at the end of the day. But my license, there is a branch for the server specific and for the license, and it's indicating me the number of elements I am using now, 894. This is before saving these new items I am going to add. So I just save and export, and you will see that we are going to also monitor the physical addresses. And this is really important also. It's really important. So after restarting, you will see the item 3. And then in KNX, every gateway has also devices branch now with elements, okay? Well, this first 7 isn't true. This is not found, and because it's not existing, after some time, some period of time, some timeout, the courtesy time, we can say, it will become to false because it's real that is not present. After this time is, we can ensure that it's not present. So it becomes to green color. The green color is the quality of the items. The quality is good for all this. And the value is that these devices exist, are present. This is not good quality because we haven't been able to find the real situation of this device, but you will see in some seconds that this is going to become green again. but with value false, because at the end it's not in the installation. Definitely this device is not in the installation. I will wait some seconds because it's interesting to see the quality of the device will change. But in this case, to ensure that the answer is negative, this DALI premium device is not present in the installation. This 30 seconds is a configuration that is possible to change. Okay. And in the case of the push button, we can do something. We can act as a burglar. We can take it out of this location. Let me go to the present. Now you can see that it's false. It's not present. The DALI premium is not present, and it will not change because it will not present anymore. But the first device is now true. What happens if I take it? I take it from its placement, and every 10 seconds it's asking and retrying sometimes, so it will take maybe 30 seconds or whatever, but it will go from true to red color. You will see in a few seconds this first one, the push button, this one, okay. The first one, okay. Now it's in, where is the device? It's asking what's happening. And this is a timeout between, I don't know what is happening with this device, is the BMS what is thinking, and the question that the device is not present after this timeout. And then, this is important, we can configure, for example, an alarm, a message to the end customer, or maybe an alarm to the maintenance service that maybe some push button is not present in the installation, and we will need to go to that room and check what is happening. And then you call your guest and you say, I'm sorry, but we have discovered some issue in your room. If you don't mind, we have to check. And if the end customer has take the push button, he will put again back to the location for sure. It's not a towel, but it's possible to realize. So you see that it's in false value now, and this is a possible trigger of an alarm, for example. I will put it back again. So as the polling for this specific device is only 10 seconds, in a few time you will see this in true again. So the alarm will go vanished. In this example, I think it's very interesting because you have the monitoring of everything. Every single thing is monitored in your installation. Okay. So should go to true, and okay, that is true. So this example has finished. You can see that it's important. Okay. So we have then my gateway definitions. Okay, my device definitions, fantastic. Okay, but in my license now I have server license a bit more than 800. It's 950. So I have increased my number of items that I am using from my license. I have 60,000. So in my case, it's not a problem. But in this case, it's increasing the number of elements. And so you have to consider that if you want to dimension your BMS, okay, your licensing. Very important also the Telegram definitions. And this is one of the last things to explain. This is very important, and I have to check every single of these 719, I think, or 20 group addresses. To do this, one by one, it's complicated here. We have the possibility to go to Excel. So look at these buttons here, these buttons. to Excel from Excel are fantastic for the handling of the tables. Very interesting. So let's go to Excel. Let's send to Excel this file. Okay, where to this, for example. Okay, I will open now Excel from Microsoft. And I will open this file. Now I can close the camera. Let me check, and I show you the final result now. When I open the file in Excel, I have this, and this is now time for magic. Okay, let's do some magic. What do I have to check? Okay, let me delete this because it's useless. Okay, so first, my opinion is to check the data points, the data type. Data type is very important, but we have to filter, in my opinion, it's also useful, very useful, for example, by type of group address. For example, status. I know that I have different words I have used in my project. This is my strategy, okay? So, for example, the status, on-off status of the light is not 1011, it's a switch because it's a light. So it should be this, okay? Instead of 1011, the data type should be on and off. That's easy to do because I just have to do this and then on-off status, okay? I can also order by name. So I can do this very simple this way. Okay, for example. So we do this. About the value, for example, the percentage. If something is percentage, and then we again can do this, sorry, percentage. The data type should be this one. And for example, this is incorrect. So what we have to do is, again, for example, this. Status of values and set points for positioning on the lights, the dimmers, or the shutters, for example. There's some of this. Why this is important? Because we need to, in visualization, for example, we need to have scaling of that value. The raw value is from 0 to 255, but we want to use it from 0 to 100. So this is very important. And in this way, we just need to check everything if it's possible in that way. The data type is important, but it's more important also the read on reconnect. So the same, if I have, for example, the status of the lights or whatever, this read on reconnect should be not false, should be true. So just filter and double click and you have everything this in true. And I have a list of words that I can check failure, for example, for the DALI, the failure should also be asked when I have a reconnect. Failure, the temperature, for example, I have a few, but it's important to read on reconnect. And this is a most important thing in this table. Temperature, looks, for example, luminosity. So this is a list of words that you may have to do this very fast. Alarm, I think I have some alarm. For example, that not all the group addresses, because you may think, okay, put this true to all and maybe it's easier. But not all of these are important, are necessary to put in true, because some controls, some of these on-off light, for example, on-off light 1 is a control, it's not a status. So it is connected, it's a group address that is connected to controls, to objects that hasn't a read flag. So it's useless to put here true, because you will send a red telegram and you will not get an answer telegram. You will get an answer telegram if you have the red flag in the object. For example, for the temperatures, this is interesting. But this is a question that has to be done from the integrator once it is the import of the ETS is finished. And it can take 5 minutes or 3 months, depends on how accurate you are, on how experienced you are. Well, 3 months not, but some hours that you can avoid with this kind of filtering. It's also interesting. There is also one specific thing that I will show you, but not here. I will close and then we can finish this session. I will close and then I will get from Excel the file. Okay, Telegram definitions. So I import this. It's important that you have exactly this table open when you import, because sometimes you do a mix of information from different tables and it's a problem because you may crash your BMS. So it's important to do this. I will not restart yet the BMS, but I will show you that it's working. I have some things in true. So this is my version of the table. It's correct. But there is the last thing I need to do, that is considering the broadcast. There is some group addresses that are not for every room, that has to be for all the rooms. And I do not have the routing communication between the boards. It's not possible to communicate the boards. The boards are isolated. This board is not possible to communicate with the next one because there is no routing between them. If I want to send something to the whole installation, I need to use, in this case, because I am using IP interface, not IP routers, I need to use the broadcast driver that the BMS has. Okay, the broadcast driver is just for these group addresses, is just as easy as write exactly this word here. Take care not time of day. We can also use broadcast. Some central group addresses that is not for a specific room, but are the broadcast. Okay, for example, this, and you will see the result now. This is a wind alarm. I will do something with the wind alarm. This is the lights. I will just use this for a lot of examples. This is not, because this is the central off for the room, not for all the rooms. Okay, it's different. But this, for example, yes. And this is only in this specific case because I am using IP interfaces. In a normal project where you have IP routers, this broadcast driver is not going to be used, because it can also be a problem if you use the broadcast having router, because you will have the bones of telegrams between lines unnecessary. Broadcast means, if I restart, sorry, the shutters, stop. This is the last one. Okay. Okay, and the rest are individual items. So defining for broadcast means that we will find last thing, sorry, before group alias. You maybe remember that we need to define copy paste. We need some names for the blue and green main and intermediate group addresses. So if I don't do this, I will have no names for this, but I need this for the broadcast. for this specific. Okay, now it's finished. I save all and I restart. And you will see at the end, and I'm finishing the first session now, how is it done? Okay. The change of the DPTs in the Telegram definitions sometimes is necessary because sometimes are private group addresses or private DPTs from a manufacturer that is in the BMS but is not in the ETS. And some other times is because you haven't done it in the ETS. So you can finish the work here or you can do it before in the ETS, of course. Okay. Let me show you now broadcast. We have something in broadcast now, for example, for the lights. What is happening with the lights? I do not have any possibility to communicate one board with another. So if I have IP interfaces, in principle, there is not a possibility to send an order to the whole boards. But as you can see, using or defining this in the broadcast, and having it in the devices, of course, configure, you have the control of the entire installation. So it's not impossible. Okay, and it's working really, really fine, really power. So what the BMS is doing is converting one order to the whole gateways. So BMS knows the IP of the whole gateways. It's not a broadcast in the network. I mean, it's the multiple unicast. So it's not a dangerous Telegram. It's important to understand. We can also, I have a scenes, for example, so I can also send a scene number 1. And you have a scene with the shutters and the lights and different values. Okay, and you can change the scene and send a different scene with a different value for the lights or whatever. So it's interesting. I will again send 0. But it's not only to turn off the lights. You can also, for example, send all the dimmers to 15%, for example. So it's, or even to 1%. In some cases, some of the dimmers are not working fine, but, or 0%, and slower, but working. Okay, so this is the KNX integration at the end to see the gateways, to see the device itself, and the group addresses. Then you have to manage a bit more than usual. And the name of the group addresses also needs some management. Finally, I will show you with ETS 6. We have also the possibility not only with ETS 5, but also with ETS 6. So let me close ETS 5. Just a second, because we are out of time, but it's important to explain many things. And just to show you that the app is working perfectly with ETS 6 with doing nothing. If you have the app, you can install it. If you have ETS license, ETS 6 is the latest version of the ETS professional configuration for commissioning and design. And it is just some seconds also. So when it's opening now, okay, I will open this, my project. Exactly the same project. I exported from ETS 5 and now I have it in ETS 6. I did it yesterday also. And when it's opening, it's just 10 seconds more. You will see. Okay, I have the BMS App Secure. This is my project. This is exactly the same aspect. ETS 6 will give us a lot of good improvements in security and in RF integration. but for many things are exactly the same. It's just select export, and as you can see, it's just waiting some seconds. More seconds than we would like, but it was yesterday faster. Maybe it was Sunday. But at the end, it's working fine. Maybe now it's a bit tired. So, well, okay. So I am finishing this session. We have another one in half an hour, so we have to close this. But I was just wanted to show you that it's also working fine in ETS 6. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you have understood all the things I have had to say, but it's a lot of things to explain in a few times, but we will see a lot of more and more interesting possibilities. So thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Julio, for your fantastic training as well. Thank you all for your participants. I think some of you, or most of you even, will continue the training session in half an hour from now, looking how to integrate KNX, BACnet, Modbus, and other protocols, and having the general item tree. Okay, thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.